Hi guys, Glader here, also known as I'm a Kitty Cat on the Gaia forums, and that's an L, not an I in I'm. So what I've got here today is I have Gaia in some form working in Unity 3D. Now, I must put a disclaimer out there that this did not involve any reverse engineering, and there's nothing done here that the browser doesn't do, that other toolbars don't do, and stuff like Better Gaia doesn't do. I could be wrong, but this should not be a violation of any laws or even the TOS, which isn't a law. But anyway, so what do I have here and why do I have it? Well, first let me just show you what it is and then we'll talk about the possibilities. Cuz there's a lot of stuff to cover. I'm going to try to front load the interesting stuff and then when you're bored you can just leave. So let's get that out of the way now. So we're going to go ahead and run this. And we've got a square walking around, which who cares? But give it 1 second. I'll press a keybind. And now it's a Gaia avatar, which comes over the network. This isn't local or anything. This actually is pulled down from Gaia Online itself, from the username. You can see it runs well. There's nothing complex going on here. Any Unity developer should be able to prepare this. You know, animation, walking around. That's no big deal. But what most wouldn't be able to do, and I'm going to actually provide you the tools to do all this, open source, free, available on GitHub, so that you can do it too, is we're actually able to, if you see, there wasn't any hiccup, no performance impact, absolutely magnificent. Let's try somebody else. We're going to be walking across, boom, it's perfect. You could have, and this is pre-optimization. There's a lot of optimization that could be done. Hasn't been done yet, but I will do it eventually. And so yeah, this is really promising. Actually reminds me of RS Classic a little bit. You've got a 2D looking character in a 3D space. So, I mean, my imagination is just running wild on what you could potentially do with this. I'd love to hear what you guys think should be done or what you're going to do with it, because I'm giving you guys all the tools to do this and much more. This isn't complete. These are just the building blocks for the community to create stuff with. Let's load another character. Let's try Dave. Yeah, see, again, no performance impact. And there was I started this a couple days ago, and that was my main focus. Can I render, animate, move, and pull down avatars with smoothly? I guess is the easiest non-technical way to describe it. Speaking of technical stuff, a little bit later in the video, once this is all done, I'm going to get into that. I'll give you guys a warning so you can hop out. But developers who are interested in using this stuff or just interested in how it worked or how I've written some stuff can stick around. So yeah, that's pretty much it. This will be expanded upon, obviously. It's not done. It was just started. I'm not exaggerating. Like yesterday, I think? Or the day before, I don't know the exact date. Let's go back to one of my characters. I don't want to be looking at this fly. There we go. So, why would you want to do something like this? Well, I think you can already see that there's a lot of game potential here. But also on top of that, Unity's got Octane integration now, which is a ray tracing renderer, and they also have something called Timeline and Cinemachine, which I don't have at the moment, which is free. It's all free. Unity itself's free. Everything's free. Even the code here, I'm giving it to you for free. Can't stress that enough. Open source. The link's going to be in the description. Anyway, you'll be able to create maybe machinimas with your Gaia avatars, create and choreograph scenes and cinematics. I think there's a lot of potential there from user-created content, which is cool. There's also games, but I'm not really sure that without Gaia, the company, there's not really too much to be done there because you can only do so much outside. But yeah, so there's a lot of potential there for the community. I'm sure you guys will come up with some fantastic ideas that I haven't come up with, and you'll surprise me with them hopefully in the comments, or just send me a message, you know, whatever. or post on the forums. I think there'll be a thread for this if I can find anywhere relevant. If I can even post this, I'm not sure if you can like post your own YouTube videos on the forums. So anyway, there's just a couple components. If you're a Unity developer, this should look pretty basic. You've got a motor, you've got something that dispatches input, you've got something that controls the animation state for the character. As you can see in the material, it changes. You've got something that handles the legs. Should be animation clip, but right now it's not. So this is where it's going to get a bit more technical, and if you're not interested in the source code, where to find it, what to do with it, etc., you should probably leave. And if you're sticking around, we're going to have to go fast because I don't want this to be a 15-minute video. So we'll switch over to the library. We're going to go quick here. In this assembly, we have simple motor. Go ahead and pause the video if you want to see any of this stuff. It's also on GitHub, so I just recommend going there. So honestly, I'm not going to go through anything. We've just got some listener interfaces that we register with Unity events. And they do some stuff here. We figure out which way should the avatar be facing based on the direction we're moving. It's done a little differently on some of Gaia's games, but I think this is a better way to do it. We've got the thing that actually dispatches the inputs, or the information resulting from the input. We've got a simple coroutine that does the animation for the legs. Like I said, probably should be an animation clip. Now that we've got that uninteresting stuff out of the way, let's take a look at the networking. How I'm able to achieve performance without any hiccups, without any stopping, without any pauses. And I owe that a lot to something I've written recently, in the past couple months, called typesafe.http.net. It allows you to, quote, auto-magically create service interfaces, or something like that. I can't remember exactly what I said. It basically lets you send requests and receive responses without writing any of the code to do that. And it might seem like that would be impossible, but I assure you, it is magical sounding and it does work. And we have one of these interfaces. I'm sorry if that sounded patronizing. I think it's cool. Anyway, we have this client right here, which connects. Oh, let's do the other one first. We'll go in order. This is just a simple query client. We're only interested in a single action or query, and that's to translate a username to an avatar image. And the way that we do that is we actually send this request, which you can see it's set up as an annotation. Then we get something XML back that looks like this. There's a lot of comments and documentation to explain why, what, and there's also some C# documentation here, which is pretty standard just to understand what's going on. So if you use it, you'll know what's going on. Might be over documented for some people, but I think if you dig into it, you'll probably want to know why something is the way it is. And so once we actually have the unique URL, which comes down in that response that we just looked at, we can actually query the CDN for the image, which we just send the unique URL, which is, do I have an example of that? It looks like this section right here. Oh no, I think that's included. Doesn't matter though. And you can see in the annotation, you might be able to start to get an understanding of it, that this section is just, this part is, the parameter is just inserted into here and the request is made. But a lot of you developers might be wondering, how's that possible? This is just interface. Surely we have to do all that ourselves when we implement it. And that is where things get interesting. I'm going to take you over to the demo code, which isn't included open source because it's terrible demo code to drive this demo that you're watching. I mean, it's not terrible by some standards. It's okay. Anyway, these are the two clients we create. It's created with typesafe http.net. Once again, take a look at it. I think it's a great library. Full disclosure, again, I've written it, so obviously I think that. And you go ahead and provide the base URL. You can actually, there's a lot of configuration here. You can add new serializers, how to handle certain content types. You can do all sorts of stuff. And you can actually, there's two different clients, REST Sharp and the HTTP client. and you could even add more if you wanted to. And so there's a huge potential with the library, but I shouldn't really be talking about that. It's not what this video is about. But we go ahead and create those. And yes, that's right. We never actually implement the interface. Never. Technically. Or not technically. We technically do, but it's done it for us in a way. I could make a whole video on that. It's kind of interesting. But now we come down here, and this few lines, and it's so elegant. Technically it's one line. Actually drives the whole demo of pulling down or querying for the avatar URL from the username, actually getting the avatar image from the CDN, and then actually setting the avatar image to the material, which not production code, any of this. But once again, for a demo, this all happens using another library I've written that I've recently published, which used to be a part of another project, but I've went ahead and extracted it as its own because it is quite useful. You're able to do continuations on tasks in Unity on the main thread. So you can actually do continuations on the main thread. And you know, normally you might say, well, who cares? You shouldn't make the continuation manual, or shouldn't worry about where it ran. You know, that shouldn't be a problem. And normally that's true, and you almost want that to be true when you develop a library, or else you run into deadlocks potentially with consumers. But the issue is Unity3D will have a fit if you try to reference any of the API, or most of it rather, on another thread. In fact, when I went ahead and tried to handle creating a texture 2D on another thread, I couldn't even do that. It threw up, and that's not good. And so yeah, so you need to run code asynchronously. You don't want to have to manually write the code to do that because it's ugly. But you also want to take advantage of the tasks, which you're expecting someone else has set up for you. You don't know where it runs. It probably runs on another thread. Then you just control, you know, the continues. So, for example, we're continuing here. After we get the username, we go ahead and log that information. And then we actually have a continuation on the same task. And that's, the order is undefined at the moment. I'm going to get around to maybe addressing that. But these two are continuations on the same task, which is this task if you didn't know. And we actually try to get the avatar image, which it itself is a task. So that's where it ends that chunk. And then we do another continuation on the result of this task. And that's probably very confusing if you're not familiar with asynchronous programming. But the result is undeniably performance, or smooth. Very smooth, no performance hiccups. We have very little code to accomplish that. And it's very clean, segregated. I think it looks nice. This is just test code, and I think it looks nice. So we do a lot with very little code. The client is basically a line of code, which is pretty good. Can't get much more productive than that. Querying multiple endpoints and handling all the data coming in is one line. One line. That's technically one line. I just have it on separate lines because it would look horrible on one line. And the logic's down here is just a couple lines. So yeah, I might be rambling on about stuff that's not related to Gaia, but again, these are some of the technologies I'm building this stuff with, which are technologies I've written. So I get really excited about it, and I think they're good. You'll have to let me know. Maybe they're terrible. So let's just hop back in to Unity one more time, just show you the performance again. Watch, I'm walking around, everything's good. Now let's put in a... I would use like anything, but you know, if the character doesn't exist, then it's not going to load. So I keep going back in between these two. So we're going to be walking. Once again, watch this. It runs asynchronously. The continuations happen on the Unity main thread, but the performance is crisp. Look at that. There's nothing, no hiccup. This is pre-optimization. I cannot stress that enough. Pre-optimization. I already know a lot of stuff I could do to make this run even better. I'm really excited because this is, you could always do asynchronous programming in Unity, but you couldn't do it really cleanly until now. Now that you have access to .NET 4.6 and Unity 2017. And that segues over to what we have to talk about real quick next, and that is the actual GitHub repo. Links in the description. If you want to build it, clone it, build, you get the assemblies. Eventually I'm going to have it push releases here, and I'm also going to have the assemblies themselves on NuGet, which some people, very few will care about, but some of you might want that. So yeah, all that source code is here except for the test, network test, which is pretty critical to do this stuff. But eventually I'm going to get something out there that's going to be official, and you'll be able to use that. But again, yeah, so go ahead and grab this. Go ahead and do something with it. Tell me what you want me to do with it. Let's see what we can do as a community. Let's do it, whatever that is, or it is. In typesafe.net, you know, you're not totally in the dark. This isn't a project that's just got like a 2-word readme that says this is typesafe.net. Don't you hate those? But there's a lot of documentation here. Information about the features, how it all works, how you actually create that client, how you set up the client interfaces. Now, not everything's documented because I'm human. And yeah, and Unity Async, not great documentation here, but there's some, which is more than most libraries have, to be honest. And yeah, so you can do continuations, which is really cool and really important. So yeah, I hope you guys liked it. I'm really hoping you guys will do something with it, and I'm hoping this will go somewhere. But I really apologize that this video is so long. But it's got to stop. 17 minutes, it's got to stop now. Thanks for watching, guys. Go ahead and, you know, send me messages if you're got any questions or anything. Have an idea. Or, you know, you can actually, if you're a developer, you can communicate through the issues. You know, if it's not an issue and you just want to say, hey, something, whatever, that's fine too. I'm not too strict about that. But thanks for watching, guys. Catch you later. And goodbye.